And as he puts his hand to sort of brace himself, he feels something very curious. And he brushes away the snow from this thing he felt, and sure enough, it was what he suspected. It was the body of another person who had been caught off guard in that same storm and serendipitously stopped at the base of the same tree and is now covered by a layer of snow. He wipes it away. He checks for a pulse, and lo and behold, there's still a weak pulse in the body. With superhuman strength, he stands up and he puts that body on his shoulders, and he begins walking, and he walks several hundred feet, and he walks through this whiteout, through this blizzard, carrying this body, and he walks right into a cabin that he didn't see previously because of the blinding snow. He bangs on the door. The guy opens it up. They're welcomed inside, and of course, the fire is blazing, and there's some stew cooking, and both men are saved. The story is a classic because, you see, this guy, the first guy, in saving somebody else, he got out of the cold himself. In saving somebody else, he found salvation personally. In saving somebody else, he was warmed up. Listen, I will now give to you the 10 secrets for overcoming depression. Number 1, do something for somebody else. Number 2, repeat that 9 times. Deny yourself. Forget about yourself. Take your eyes off yourself. Jesus said that's the key, the cross. If any man come after me. You know the story of Elijah in the cave of depression, don't you? He was depressed greatly, feeling like he alone had not bowed his knee to Baal. Well, to make a long story short, God says to Elijah, what are you doing here in this cave of depression? Get going, Elijah. There's a king to anoint. There's a man to mentor. Start discipling Elisha. There's some work to do in the kingdom. And gang, that's what the Lord says to me when I get in my cave of depression. What are you doing here, Johnny? Deny yourself. Go help out somebody. Take up your cross. Follow me. By the way, understand this, gang, because you're going to hear in the service, in the ministry, people say occasionally, well, it's a cross that I'm bearing. This cancer that I'm fighting. It's a cross that I'm bearing. These headaches that I'm having. It's a cross that I'm bearing. This financial pressure, which is hassling me. No! Those are not crosses. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what Jesus was meaning. Cancer, headaches, financial pressures, that's life. It rains upon the just and the unjust. Difficulties and setbacks and tragedies and sickness, it happens to everybody. It rains upon the just and the unjust. Then what's a cross? A cross is something you choose to bear for someone else's redemption, like Jesus did. He chose to bear the cross. He wrestled in Gethsemane, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Speaking of the cup of suffering. Nevertheless, he said, not my will, but thy will be done. The cross is what you choose to do in dying to self for someone else's good, not something which you just have to bear or go through because of life. Are you with me? It's when you lay aside your thing and say, I'm going to help him out or help her out. The cross. Who for the joy set before him, he endured the cross. On the other side of the cross, he knew that there would be what? Joy. And that's true for anyone who's battling depression. Man, forget about yourself. Die to self. Help somebody else out. And you're going to see on the other side of that cross, there's joy. It's absolutely unavoidable. Now, number 6 or whatever we're on. Speaking of depression, that leads us into marriage. People say, man, you're going to find over and over again people coming your way, and they're going to have questions and problems and struggles about marriage. There are so many seminars given, so many books that are written on marriage. It just goes on and on and on. All I know is one thing: Jesus Christ and Him crucified. What do you mean, John? Didn't Paul put it this way in Ephesians chapter 5? He just says, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave Himself. Speaking of the cross, speaking of the tree, dying to self, you see. Wives, submit to husbands, die to self. Husbands, lay it down for your wives, the cross, you see. Lewis T. Talbot, who was the chancellor of Biola University, where I went to school. He was a great guy, fiery, powerful preacher, short in stature. And one time he went to preach at the Church of the Open Door in Los Angeles, downtown LA. That's when that church had its heyday. And he goes there as a visiting preacher, and he gives a message on marriage. And Talbot, as only he can do with veins bulging, and pulpit being pounded, gives this message. He talks about wives submitting to their husbands. And then when he's done, he makes his way off the platform, goes and stands by the door to greet the parishioners. And as he's there, a lady, a large lady, a huge gal, we're talking planet, we're talking her own zip code, She comes up to where Talbot is standing, and she, according to Lewis T. Talbot, had a large flowered print dress and a hat and a big handbag, and she gets right in his face and says, "Dr. Talbot, I heard your message today on wives submitting to husbands." She said, "If you were my husband, I would put poison in your tea tomorrow morning." And Lewis Talbot looked up at her and said, "Ma'am, if you were my wife, I would drink it." I think that I give the shortest marriage counseling sessions of all. I like to do marriage counseling. I like to do counseling. But it's short, and I just simply say, hubby, die. Die. All I know is this: Jesus Christ and Him crucified, and you are to love her like Christ loves us and gave Himself for us on the tree. Die. You see, the answer isn't manuals, gang. You're going to come across in the ministry lots of seminars and bunches of books and endless videos and tapes on marriage ministry and manuals about this kind of stuff. The key is not a manual. The key is Emmanuel, the Lord with us. And I tell you the truth, that if a husband will die to self and a wife will die and submit to her husband, the cross, they will experience Emmanuel. They will experience the Lord in the midst of them. It's inevitable. It works every time. That's too simple. Listen. You tell those husbands, you say, "Look, dear friend, the key, die to your dreams, your desires, your wishes." Remember the old unity candle? Ever see a marriage ceremony where the husband and the wife, they take those candles and they light the center candle? Seen that before? And they blow out their individual candles. One of the gals said, now, well, what does that mean? And the answer was given very simple. It means for you, husband, no more old flames. No more old flame. You die to self. You let the old stuff that used to intrigue you, and you say, hey, I'm going to live as Christ taught me to. Take up the cross. Well, what about parenting? Number 7 or 8. People will come your way and they'll say, I'm confused in this issue about parenting. All I know is one thing. Jesus Christ and Him crucified. You see, in John chapter 20, we see Jesus instantaneously doing something. We see Jesus permanently, powerfully, practically bonding a mother and a son. As He hangs on the tree, He looks down and He sees His mother, Mary, and He says, woman, as He nods in her direction, behold your son, looking at John, the one disciple that didn't run. And He says to His disciple John, behold your mother. And at that moment, at the foot of the cross, those two, John and Mary, were bonded, blended together in such a way that history tells us that Mary lived with John and was taken care of by John until Mary died many years later. People say, well, I just don't get along with my stepson, or I don't like my stepmom, or I don't, my kids are... Listen, you can focus on the family as much as you wish, but the focus must ultimately be on the cross. For you see, I tell this to people. You're willing, aren't you, to go in for counseling? You're willing to take a vacation. You're willing to get involved in Junior's Little League or help little Mary with her piano or whatever it might be. But will you do this? Will you, as a mom and as a dad, will you take time to gather your kids around you and meet at the foot of the cross? Pray together. Share communion with each other. Talk about what the Lord did for you, what He's doing in you. Will you come together around the Lord's broken body? Will you come around the blood that was shed at Calvary? Will you go to the Lord's table? Will you have family altar? Will you meet Him? And it's interesting, because good people will take vacations with their kids. They'll get involved in the activities of their kids, but they will not take time for family altar. Why? Because the enemy would rather see you take Junior to Disneyland than he would to see you have family devotions. The only way that I know to alter a family is to go to family altar. The only way I know to alter a family is to go to family altar. And most of you guys aren't married yet, so you are ahead of the game. Purpose in your heart that your home, those kids that God sends your way, are going to be bonded together, that they're going to be cemented with each other and with you around the cross of Calvary. Not primarily family activities, as good as those might be. Or not around clinics in psychology, as attractive as that might be. But your family is going to be bonded and blended at the foot of Calvary. Woman, behold thy son. Behold thy mother. And at the cross. You see, something happens when Peter, John, when Christy, when Mary Elizabeth, when Tammy, when Benjamin, when we have family devotions and when we're sharing our hearts and our need, man, you just find yourself coming together in such a way that you're celebrating the salvation. You're growing together. Not telling them what to do, but sharing with them what He's done for me and for you. Powerful stuff.